Welcome back everyone to Mudstomp Solves, the channel where we build things, putting pieces together, most commonly puzzles, cardboard puzzles, but every now and then we do 3D puzzles, block builds, and pen and paper puzzles, and so forth. So anything that involves putting two things together with or without instructions. Today, I welcome you back in the new year. I'm rounding up last year's efforts with a sort of mix of a video. We're going to have a look at this puzzle that was going to be out for Christmas this year, but I just got way too busy, and so I've done it for now. And then I'm going to give you a bit of review of how the year's gone and my goals for the next year. So hang in until the end for that. Otherwise, what you can see right now, I'm doing an audio over the top because I planned on doing this puzzle in chunks. I say chunks because when it came, it was quite well built together still. And looking at it with quite a large amount of dark in it, I decided that I would break it up partially, but not fully, and give myself a bit of a head start. So the first little chunk there that you saw, I basically put all the pieces on the board that were already sort of still together. Now I did break it up more than I expected, to be honest, but it gave me enough to sort of get my teeth sunk into it. And yeah, although it turned out being a lot longer to build than I thought it would be based on that sort of scenario, in the end of it I got through it and I was pretty happy with how it went. So let me take you through the journey today. It's going to be a shorter video for that reason, but yeah, I just wanted this to be a nice little quick solve to show and to celebrate the season. Obviously, we've got Christmas, New Year, all those sorts of things going on. So season's greetings to everyone, and let's have a look at where we get. Currently, what you're seeing is essentially the middle of the puzzle. After I put all the pieces down, I sorted out or pulled out coloured bits and pieces as I could see them. About 2/3 of this puzzle is probably quite dark pieces, as you'll see in a bit. So this middle third, if you will, is where all the colour is and where all the really standout textures and contrasts are. So I gradually pulled those pieces out and put them together in different ways. It was a lot of fun, to be honest, and it helped me get a bit more familiar with the puzzle, but yeah, overall it was kind of an interesting process. I've never done an Educa before. This is a 1500 piece Educa puzzle, and it was nice to see that the quality of the pieces is really up there. What I will say shocked me the most was the fact that the pieces are all pretty much H shapes. There's a few that don't have the tabs on them, but for the bulk of it, it's H shapes. And they don't have that variation that you often see in other puzzles, unfortunately. So that was quite a bit of a hurdle to overcome. Just quickly, we're having a quick review of where we've gotten up to so far. So this is basically all the most colourful pieces, all the chunks that I already had together, and the edge pieces all done, and this is where we ended up. So as you can see, there's only about 1/3 of the puzzle done out of the 1500 pieces. It was a lot less than I was hoping for at this point. So essentially, apart from the Santas, if you will, you know, white robes there, a large amount of the colour is all in that third, and that was basically what I had done. Here, following that step, I decided to start sorting the pieces into shape. Well, not shape, I should say, sorry. I sorted them into very dark, and then pieces that had a bit of colour that sort of indicated something, and pieces that had a very minor indication of like a gold ring or something like that, and then pieces that had the missing tabs so that those were separate as well, as you can see. You can also see that the dark part of this was the biggest pile by far, and in actual fact I only sorted half of this and then had to sort the other half of it later because it filled the board and I didn't want to do two boards. So I did this, and then I started sort of putting as much in as I could, and then resorted the rest of it afterwards. So it was an interesting process, very different from what I'm used to because I usually sort everything to begin with. But yeah, this was just, I had to adapt as I went because it wasn't turning out the way I expected, and it was taking a lot longer than I thought. As you can see here, we've got this shot and the next shot where I'm basically showing just two finite areas where I was just trying to piece together and find the bits. It was slow going, I got to admit. I probably, in these two areas, maybe found a piece and placed it every 30 seconds to a minute, so it was a bit of a slow slog to begin with. But it did mean that absolutely all the pieces that had some indicator of where they would go, or the colours on them, were eventually placed after this sort of phase of things. There were pieces after this that I gradually started to, like, my eyes got accustomed to seeing very faint details on that, and it did help for the rest of it. But as you can see in this picture right now, it was basically like, yeah, still a good sort of I don't know, a third of the puzzle at least that needed to be done. And you can see the board is full of all the sort of dark pieces, and there's still connected dark pieces are on the left there that basically I hadn't done. Just to give you a close-up for a few seconds, this just shows you what I'm dealing with. These are all very similarly identical pieces. They're not identical, but it was so close and so similar. It was very difficult. And I actually got to the point where I started analyzing the type of tab and the type of inlet each piece had. And you can see that it worked, but it ended up being a very, very slow process. So here's a short clip of showing me in this process, if you will. Essentially, with this sort of step and so forth, like I said, I was analyzing the gaps and looking at the tabs and going, okay, is that a normal round tab, or is it a slightly pointed tab? Is it an extended tab? Is it shorter? What's on each side of the piece, and gradually looking through piece by piece, looking for those variations. Honestly, I actually enjoyed the process. Once I sort of got it in my head that I was doing that, it was very slow. You'll see this clip is about 3 minutes long. I wanted to give you the full experience. And in that 3 minutes, I placed one piece. So it was kind of like, testing and over again. You'll see soon, essentially, what I end up doing is I resort these pieces to show one specific detail out of the tabs and so forth in a pile. So then I was able to sort of cut down how many pieces I was looking through to find that particular detail. But it was literally detail by detail, and even then I'm not 100% sure that I've got every piece in the right spot. What I mean by that is there were a few pieces, at least I think at least a couple dozen times, where I had false fits. And it took me a while to realize they didn't quite look right, and I'd sort of analyze them for a bit and then eventually decide, no, that's not the right piece. I wouldn't say it was like back-breaking false fitting, but by the end of the puzzle, I'm still confident there's probably 2 or 3 pieces that don't look like they're quite in the right spot. Their color doesn't quite match the surrounding area, but for the life of me, I could not find a matching piece that it should swap with. I will say I did find a couple of pieces that definitely had similar cuts, if not the same cut. So it suggests to me that across this whole puzzle, 1,500 pieces, there must be a doubling up on the cuts or something like that. I don't understand it personally, but it is what it is. So maybe that's how they roll out the hundreds of puzzles in a row and cut them, and they just have an overlap. I don't know. Either way though, like I said, overall I largely enjoyed the process once I sort of got it in my head that this is what I was doing, this is how I'm going about it. And for the most part, it was successful. It took me a long time, and obviously the more I got done, the quicker it went. But it was kind of one of those things where, I kind of think like, do I want to do a solid color puzzle at some point? Now, I had a pink one sitting around that I had a look at the other day, and I opened it up to look at it, and the pieces look even worse in a sense for detail, and they're thin, flimsy pieces, and I'm like, okay, that's definitely not happening today. And it does make me question again doing the 15k puzzle, because I know that one has minimal detail. However, with this new strategy of what I've done here, I'm kind of feeling like maybe I can approach that one in the future and feel like I can somewhat, get there with it. So yeah, it's sort of, slight setbacks and some wins in doing this puzzle. So yeah, overall, a successful puzzle, and there's our piece placed finally. So this is the last final phase, and this is where I sorted them into their different little tabs and things to have them basically separated, and also the pieces orientated the correct way, because there were 2 styles, a tall piece and a fat piece, if you will. So we've got all the fat pieces at the top, I think, and all the tall ones at the bottom, or vice versa. And so this was essentially to really cut down on my journey. That being said, I finally got it finished, and I was really, really happy with it turned out. No missing pieces, which was absolutely fantastic. I was so ecstatic. I was convinced there were going to be many missing pieces. And overall, you can see a lot of detail in the picture, which I didn't think you were going to be able to see to begin with. So I'm actually very, very impressed with this puzzle. Will I be doing it again? Not anytime in the near future, but I'm holding on to it because I might decide to do it at some point in a celebratory phase down the track. Finally, for the video, obviously that's the finished puzzle, but I'm now going to show you a bit of celebratory numbers, if you will, for my channel this year. And I think I'm doing this a little bit as a pinpoint of, hey, what happened at the end of 2025, but also what do I want to do in 26 and where I can see what happens over the years, basically. So to start with, we're going to have a look at the best parts of the year. And what I mean by that is, number one, the biggest puzzles I solved. There were 3 2K puzzles in the end, and I enjoyed each of them quite a lot, to be honest. So yeah. I also had my favorite puzzles, the Dinotopia, the Zodiac, the Little Mermaid, and the Potions and Poisons. So those were spread across the years. That was really nice. I had a puzzle every sort of quarter that I really enjoyed. You can see there I've got things like my most viewed video, my most viewed short. The shorts are going great at the moment. I'm really enjoying them, and I'm getting a lot of feedback on them, which I really appreciate. There you can see all my views and the subs gained. Again, thank you to the subscribers. Gaining 180 subscribers this year has just been really incredible and really exciting. And obviously there's one unfinished puzzle, the 15K, but I'm going to return to that this year. So finally, summation of my videos, and then lastly we're going to have a look at what my goals are for next year. Oh, sorry, I forgot. So this was the number of videos I produced, puzzles I completed, and pieces I completed in 24 versus 25. So you can see there's a slight increase in 25, and going to 26, I've got an even bigger increase that I've planned for. I'm hoping to get a video out every single week, at least a puzzle video every second video, so therefore we get somewhere in the vicinity of 30 puzzles done this year, and I'm hoping they will number in some of the bigger puzzles, therefore getting closer to 30,000 pieces done for the year. And if I get lucky, maybe my subscriber count will jump up and I'll get to 1,000 subscribers in the year. So yeah, that's my goals for the year. To finally finish up, I'm just going to say again, thank you very much for the support from everyone. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I really hope you've enjoyed the year, and I'm looking forward to another great year coming up. You know what to do to keep me going, so hit that bell, like and subscribe, comment, all the rest of it. And otherwise, this is Mud Stomp out for 2025. Let's get into 26. Bye.